Coming to the agenda for today, we are going to review what is GRC, integrated risk management, what basically is Archer, overview of RSA Archer tool, GRC use cases, and career opportunities. Now, if we talk about all of these topics, firstly, I'm going to go into a bit of theoretical where I would be explaining the concepts of what basically GRC means, what basically integrated risk management means, what is Archer, Archer being a GRC tool. I'll give you some brief about Archer, and post that we will actually go into the tool, which is RSA Archer. I will show you how the backend of Archer looks like, what an administrator in Archer does on its day-to-day activities or what this journey is, and certain use cases, industry best practices use cases of GRC solution, what is implemented in RSA Archer. We would be discussing that, and I'll be discussing about the career opportunities of how an Archer consultant or an administrator can grow in their careers and what is the roadway and path to them. So coming to what exactly is GRC. Um, GRC is a specific set of rules, procedures, policies, or frameworks that any organization defines to achieve the business objectives or to achieve their business goals. So, if we talk about rules or policies or frameworks, it could be anything within an organization. Let's take data protection policies, resource management policies, an employee who is, out on sick leave, sick related policies. All of the policies or all the regulations what a company defines is basically governance, and it is equally responsibility of the primary stakeholders in an organization to be aligned with the strategic goals of the company so that all these policies which are in place are aligned and they are following the strategic goals. Coming to risk management, uh, this is an important topic when we talk about RSA Archer. So, risk management, as you all know, that every business organization or every business will face one or the other kind of risk, be it related to finance, legal, IT, operational, strategic, reputational, etc. So, there are several kinds of risk associated to an organization when they go in the market and conduct the business. So, in today's scenario, as we all know, the increasing amount of theft, increasing amount of um, security we need to protect the business. So, proper risk management is inherent for any business to conduct their business in a very successful manner and get positive outcome for the company. So, proper risk management helps business to basically identify, monitor this risk, and remediate this risk in the best feasible way. And companies using this enterprise risk management program uh, on their day-to-day basis would potentially face lesser problems and would be able to conduct their business in a effective and a good way. So if we take an example that we may conduct a risk assessment followed by a lot of questions uh, depending on what kind of assessments we are conducting. But if we talk about assets or applications, there would be a bunch of questions related to security, questions related to data stored within it, questions related to business continuity, etc. would pop up for an asset. And to find those loopholes by answering those questions and fixing those is basically risk management. And we cover up several processes I mentioned: identity, accessing, controlling, and remediating the risk. So, this whole concept combined together is integrated risk management. And this is primarily what Archer would be about. Coming to compliance, as we all know, compliance is rules or process what an organization has defined. It is equally important to obey and follow those rules what an organization has set up. So organization across the globe face regulations. From somebody from Europe would be facing GDPR, somebody from US would be facing their law, somebody from Asia Pacific would have their own regulations and rule. So every company must follow several compliance norms and several compliance laws in order to be transparent and in order to achieve regulatory and legal success in their organization. So as per the report, one of the organization did spend 4% of their global revenues on GDPR fines because they were not compliant. If we talk about healthcare organization, they have to follow laws for HIPAA. Now, if they don't, there would be fines and there would be a lot of challenges to the organization. So this clearly depicts us that how important GRC is for an organization and how important it is to have a good GRC program for any organization to be successful. Now, if we talk about Archer, um, Archer is nothing but basically an GRC automation tool that helps the business completely automate their risk governance and compliance program. As we just studied that because of several cyber thefts, cyber threats, corporate frauds, financial frauds emerging across the market, it is very, very important to have a solid GRC platform for an organization to be in place. And that's where RSA Archer as a tool is used to automate the complete GRC process for an organization, achieving majority of the process in an automated way. So with RSA Archer, we can do any sorts of risk assessments. We can control those risks. We can mitigate those risks. That is used across several business lines. We can create workflows. We can create processes. We can create applications. We can create data driven events. So every aspect one could think of that how to have a successful GRC program, everything could be implied and could be automated into Archer. So Archer is basically a tool which is basically used to automate everything and completely convert your GRC program into complete automation where everybody would just have just a common platform named Archer to have their GRC practices in place. Now, one important feature about Archer is that Archer doesn't need coding. Archer doesn't need coding background, or Archer doesn't need any sort of code to build up all these workflows, application, data driven events. Once we look at the tool, it would give a better understanding for all of us. But just as an information, RSA Archer doesn't need any sort of code or any sort of coding background for developing any of these applications or processes workflows. So I would take a moment to share the core areas of where Archer is mainly used. And apart from that, there are other areas, but I just want to give a highlight about the core areas, 6 core areas where Archer is mainly being used at the moment. One is enterprise and operational risk management, audit and compliance, uh, business resiliency, business continuity, ESG, environmental, social, third party vendor assessments or third party governance, IT and security. These are the core areas of Archer. But Archer even allows you to create certain applications according to needs of your organization. So let's say somebody has completely different requirement from the 6 core domains. So Archer still gives you an option to create all these applications completely from scratch. How do you want your organization to work with? So Archer even supports on-demand applications. On-demand meaning you can create applications, workflows according to your organization and according to your needs. As well, we also have the ability in Archer to customize what Archer gives as this core. So core solutions has a design within it, but in order to customize it, Archer gives you that flexibility that you can go ahead and have a certain design for particular audit assessment or for particular business continuity assessments, how you want to have it in your organization. Right. Uh, so RSA does provide a use case for business resiliency and business continuity, disaster management as well, where there would be BCP plans, EAP plans as a design, what would be given by Archer to you when you purchase that use case. Now, that use case would come with a certain design and would come with a certain workflow. Now, according to needs of your organization, that workflow could be customized by an Archer administrator who has technical knowledge on Archer. And then, how exactly your organization wants crisis management or disaster plan or business continuity plan, EAP plan, all modules related to crisis and disaster to work, that could be customized in Archer. All right. So we will go ahead looking at the tool, how the tool looks like. And for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how the backend of Archer looks like. And post that, we would be seeing certain GRC use cases. Deploying Archer in your organization, how many days of trial you want would probably be subdivided into what kind of usage your organization would have, how many modules your organization is looking for. So RSA do conduct all these kind of assessments prior to giving a free trial. So it's best to contact an Archer representative from Archer itself, from Archer IRM itself, to get a better understanding of they could give a demo instance for your company or not. So you may reach out to the sales representative of Archer, and they would be able to explain you the entire process on that front. Okay. So going on the back end of Archer, we're going to cover several areas. To begin with, we would be covering up access control. So access control is the primary backend feature where all the permissions or all the restriction what a person needs to have, what kind of accesses a person needs to have, is defined in the tool. So let's say I go ahead and would probably create a user account like what I have on the backend. I would be able to create user accounts on the screen, what you are showing. Then I would be able to give them privileges and rights from here, etc. And then I can also define what kind of permissions I want to give to that particular user. Let's say I want to give them read rights, update rights, I want to give them deletion rights. So all of those features are defined in the access control area of Archer. And this is primarily what we're going to learn into detail in this course, the entire backend of Archer, how access roles are defined, how the permissions could be levied, how user accounts could be created, etc. Then Archer also supports certain kind of reporting where one can generate reports for, let's say, user accounts, inactivity log, or several parameters from grouping perspective, that what permissions a particular user has. We get to know all the reports from a respective user basis, respective permissioning basis, failed login attempts, accounts which are locked, how many members have same kind of permissions, etc. So all these reports are inbuilt into the tool, and according to how your data is present in Archer in this tool, reports would be extracted automatically. All you have to do is just click on the link, and then you will get the list of the users, and then you just can simply export that in form of a CSV file, an Excel file, a Word file, etc. So once you do that, you have list of all the information, all the reports in your normal computer on all your normal machines. So this is how access control reports of Archer works, and gives user a good advantage of collecting all these data and using it in the organization wherever needed and wherever used. Also, we can define the parameters of Archer, be it like what should be the password length, what should be the size of password, how many characters are needed, how many failed login attempts is allowed. All the parameters from a security perspective, from password protection perspective, are defined in the tool, in mainly in the access control area. And this is how we can monitor and put a compliance check on according to the best practices of the tool. So this was one of the areas as far as access control is concerned. Now we'll go into the applications, where I will show you how an application could be built up in Archer. Application is nothing but the process or the workflow you may be following to conduct risk assessments or audits or compliance that we would be dealing with. So let's say we have certain core solution which comes along with Archer, and I would pick up one particular solution which is audit plan. So this is how the backend of audit plan looks like, where I have defined several fields like audit plan, description of audit plan, start date, end date, what should be the status, etc. And all of these fields could be created from this data field, where Archer allows us to create all bunch of these fields from the backend. Like if somebody wants to create an attachment, wants to have an attachment tag to an audit plan record, we have the attachment field. Somebody wants to put up a date, they have a date field. We can check the history log or trail log. We can check and have like description or an open text field. We can have values. Let's say somebody wants to give plan a high rating or a low rating, then we can define that in the values section. So there are a bunch of fields. I may not be able to cover everything, but all these fields define an application. So whatever your needs are, be it text, date, values, all of these fields could be created on the backend, and they could be placed on this layout. So once we place on the layout, it would be visible to you from the front end, and we would be going over it in next couple of minutes. But just an overview that this is how an application and the fields within it could be created. And at the same time, if we talk about regulations, or if you want to put up some restrictions, let's say we are audit managers and audit SSE. Now I want to make it read only for an audit SSE once he submits the record. So I can define the rules here that when the status is when the status is submitted, here I have a different status, but when, let's say, when this audit plan status is submitted, right, make the entire record read only for the SSE. And then I can define all those permissioning from here, which would say display, do not display, read only, required. So depending on what kind of access and rights we want to provide, each of the entity on an audit plan record would be defined from here. And then if we talk about solutions, so solutions is nothing but pool of applications. So as we were discussing at the very beginning about operational risk management, so operational risk management has all of these workspaces defined, and all these are applications combined. So combined, in order to conduct a top-down assessment, we would need risk register, risk hierarchy, risk register library, all these applications. So combination of all these applications to conduct a top-down assessment or a bottom-up risk assessment would be in solutions. This is what solutions in Archer means. And we can completely customize solutions in whichever way we want, or whichever applications we want to add from the backend. So here on the backend, we get the option to include it. If you want to remove it, we can go ahead and remove this. We can go ahead and add new, etc. Let's say I go ahead and add to, I hit on OK. So those two applications have been added into the solution. So we can completely customize the backends for creation of application solutions, etc. Um, One of the key features, probably most needed, I'll go ahead and brief a little bit about notifications in Archer. So let me explain this. When you purchase Archer, certain use cases like operational risk management, audit management, issues, business continuity, they come when you purchase the product. When you purchase the tool, it comes within it. Now you have the option to redesign that, what RSA has provided. If you want to customize that, you can, exactly how I was explaining, you can go ahead and do that. And as well as you can create new applications. Let's say for if we were on the operational risk management, now your organization does not follow risk register or risk hierarchy or business processes. You have, like, let's say divisions or companies or facilities within it, be it an e-commerce company or so. Then for you, I would probably need to go on the back end and create facilities according to your organization needs and how your organization wants to have facilities to work. So with the help of this backend, I can go ahead and completely customize these facilities and have it in the top-down assessment. I just wanted to give an overview of the backend. So there are several other functionalities like notifications. We can customize notifications in Archer. We can create dashboards, workspaces for senior managers, for top level management, etc. Let me give you a quick overview of how a dashboard would look like in Archer. Let's say if we pick one, business unit manager. So when a business unit manager, whom we have assigned, created a user account for it, whom we have given appropriate rights, when he logs into Archer, he would be able to see a dashboard like this. And all these dashboards would be built from the backend area. So he can basically look at what are the upcoming metrics, what are the risk records, what is present. Then this graphical representation would give him an idea about the risk inventory. This all would be depending on what data we have in the system. Since on this is a demo system, we don't have much data present here. But in real life scenario, whatever inventories an organization might have, or how many risk an organization would have incorporated or conducted, would be listed here. So this is how a dashboard for a risk manager would look like, and then accordingly we can customize this according to our needs. And similarly would be the notifications. For notifications, we know that at every point people want a notification or want an alert to know that workflow has moved from submitted to awaiting approval from somebody, right? So all these notifications would be created from this front, where we can trigger notifications at any point in time according to our design. So if we go, let's say, risk creation, so we have defined a notification that the moment a risk record is created, a notification would be triggered in the system to the submitter. So this is all included in the backend. Then we can define the content of the notification, what needs to be present in the notification, to whom it should go out, what should be the delivery, right? All of these configuration for a notification to trigger is defined on the backend. So I would stop here from, since we have just ample of minutes left, I would stop from the backend. And just, I hope this overview was sufficient enough to get an idea of how the backend looks like. And then of course we have the RSA Archer course, where we would be dealing with entire backend into much more depth and details. So coming to the front end of GRC use cases, I'll talk about the operational risk management, where risk hierarchy, risk register, risk project, all of these records, all of these applications basically are present in the system, either as part of when you purchase Archer or you have created and modified on your own. Both the options. So I've created one sample record for a risk project. So what one needs to do is on the front end, uh, they need to give a risk project name uh, as a mandatory field. Then probably they need to give description about that risk project. We have date fields available. We can change the start date. We can change the end date of it. We can give them the actual start date, when actually this is going to start, when actually this is going to end. Then we can define participants, risk manager, management sponsors. All of these fields, note that this could be editable and this could be customizable. If I want that, I don't want risk project description, I just want description, yes, you do have the option to rename it. If you don't want the width of this to be this big, if you just want a text box, small text box, yes, you can do that. If you want dates to be auto populated, yes, you can do that as well. Everything basically is customizable on the backend of Archer according to the needs. So scoping, project scoping, we have given several options over here for, and does the scoping need to be done for an application, a business unit, be it devices, assets, what are the processes we are going to follow, facilities, application. So functional owners or users who would be are using Archer for their GRC practices would see this on the front end or their side. So they will fill up all of these details and they can save the record. They can conduct risk identification on selecting, creating assessments for applications, facilities, device, fraud, several others. They can even conduct risk analysis and evaluation. They can certain fill up details of likelihood, medium, low, high, what is the impact, right? We can define values out of this, how long the overall risk level would be. All of these is defined on the back end. Then we can even give an idea about what the risk analysis overview is about, what needs to be uh, filled up over here as a part of risk analysis overview and details. And then the risk treatment plan, what are we going to do as a final step to mitigate the risk, to minimize the risk and ensure that the risk associated either gets minimized and organization is lower levels of exposure to the risk area. So if I just recap and combine that, all these processes would be defined by the stakeholders or by people who is into GRC, and we as developers would go on the back end and create all these things. And if we want, we can customize from the existing design, both the options available. So that was just a quick overview about how the front end of Archer looks like, what are the use cases. And then we have several use cases: audit, issues, ORM, business continuity or resiliency, crisis management, issues management within it, regulatory and corporate uh, compliance, third party vendor management, and bunch of others, other use cases what we have in Archer. So that's it from the tool perspective, or from the front end perspective, or your use case perspective of Archer. Policies are defined in policies and procedures use case, what we get in Archer. Like similarly to what we saw for enterprise risk management, ORM, issues management, similarly we have policies and procedures use case in Archer, and that follows a certain process. So you would be able to create that particular policy related to HIPAA, SOX, several other frameworks, several other GRC frameworks, and that you can imply controls on it, right, which would be related to the control assurance use case. So Archer also has a feature to interchange policies with controls. Like for a particular policies, you need to have certain controls associated, and for these controls you may create a SOX program, and then you would go through assessments of SOX and define all of those regulatory parameters there. So linkage between policies and controls is possible. We would need to configure that, and we would need two use case in the system. One is control assurance and one is policies. And then we can interrelate all these two applications and have a policy in place which would have certain controls, assessments of those, etc. So for career opportunities, Archer has the highest market capitalization, and it's the leading tool in GRC in North America, Asia Pacific, Middle Eastern region, and Europe. It is increasing. But Asia Pacific, Middle East, and North America has the highest market capitalization of Archer, Archer engineers, Archer being a primary GRC tool in the organization. Then, if we talk about organizations using, half of global Fortune 500 companies are using Archer for their GRC practices. Big Four, Indian IT services company, pharmaceutical industries, BFSI segment, Indian PSU banks, all of them are using Archer for their GRC practices. So there is a dive need of skilled Archer administrators, skilled Archer specialists who can basically restructure or customize the tool. They can understand the backend, they can develop the backend and deliver positive results to the organization, because these companies do need GRC practices, and GRC practices are going to evolve in the upcoming years. So people are in requirement of good Archer specialists, good Archer administrators, and there is ample of companies around the globe where Archer is being used and their market is evolving. So if we talk about Fortune 500, as we are all aware, half of Fortune 500 is using Archer, and then still more to come in the upcoming years and segment. And as we all know how important GRC is and its automation is, because gone are those days where would be using Excel sheets and email exchanges for their GRC practices. And Archer as a tool has the most efficient functionalities for maintaining GRC practices. There are other tools in the market, be it ServiceNow, OneTrust, etc., for GRC, but not being biased towards Archer, but the way Archer is incorporated, Archer is specifically for GRC. Archer doesn't support, let's say, uh, functionalities related to Splunk or Qualys or so. Archer is specifically designed for GRC practices. And it is the only tool where we need bare minimum coding. We don't need coding experience, or we don't need any mandatory prior background in risk, audit, or any other domain. All we have to do is learn the backend of how the tool works, right? So if you learn how designing could be done, if you learn how fields could be created, if you learn how applications could be developed, then you are all set to go in the market as an Archer specialist. And to all those people who are working professionally on GRC front, right? Be it risk analyst, auditors, right? They have an extra edge. They can be a techno-functional analyst. They can go up the ladder if they know the tool, which would help them to serve as a better product managers, and they would completely understand the capabilities of the tool, which will help them automate all these processes on their side.